Peer pressure doesn't stop after high school. It doesn't only happen to weak people. And if you think you're immune to it, you're lying to yourself. Let me explain. Quick introduction. My name is Mikhail, active duty Marine, content creator, gym rat, avid runner, the whole shabab. And here's the thesis for today's video. Peer pressure can happen to anyone, and I'm breaking down why, with real examples and what you can do about it. Now let's get into it. And we'll start off by defining what peer pressure is. And essentially what peer pressure is to be influenced to do something that you otherwise wouldn't do, wouldn't normally do, maybe not comfortable with. And now we'll go into common misconceptions. I'm reading off my phone here, right? What I put for the common misconceptions. And this is something I thought as well before I realized that peer pressure could happen to anyone. Common misconceptions are it's only for teenagers, like it only happens in school, stops after high school, only happens to weak people, only happens if like someone's bullying you, and that you grow out of it. Like people grow out of peer pressure. Like it stops in high school, you become an adult, working a little corporate job or working your adult stuff, and it stops there or before you grow out of it. So it stops before, or it stops when you become an adult, is what I mean. And I go into the reality of things, and the reality of things is that peer pressure continues out your entire life. It can happen at work, your friends, relationship, social circles, etc. And the point to hit home with that is that even the strongest people you know feel peer pressure as well and may even succumb to it as well. So this isn't something that you're alone on, or this isn't something for weak people. And I want to give a few famous examples of what I mean by even successful people feel it as well. And the first example I want to give for this is Curtis Jackson, better known as 50 Cent. And I have my notes here, but you know, if you know 50 Cent, you're probably thinking 50 Cent shot 9 times, you know, the tank top and the vest, the bulletproof vest on, 50 Cent, the hustler, the gangster, him, you know what I'm saying? Muscles, jag tattoos, what? No way. But here's an example, right? I was listening to his audiobook, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, and he was mentioning he was working an event. I think had a few hundred people or hundreds of people there. And he was saying remaining sober is something he does, right? So excessive drinking and smoking, that's not something he does, right? So he mentions at this event, you know, it's a big event, there's rappers there, there's entertainers, a whole lot of people. Snoop Dogg was there as well. And Snoop Dogg passed him his blunt, right? And Snoop Dogg was also saying, you would think because, you know, I'm 50 Cent, or did I say Snoop Dogg? 50 Cent was saying, you would think because I'm 50 Cent, people wouldn't harass me with this whole, you gotta smoke thing, this whole, you know, you would think people wouldn't harass me with about that kind of stuff. But he said, no. Even me, big bad 50 Cent, people still trying to, you know what I'm saying, here, take a sip of that, here, take a shot of this, here, smoke this, here, do that. So that's the first example I wanted to give, of a famous person. The next example I want to give is of when he told me he was a first sergeant. So first sergeant, I'm trying to see if it matters to explain you the whole thing, you know, for you civilians. Honestly, it doesn't matter. You just think, when he told me he was a first sergeant, so he's like my superior. Yeah, he's not my superior. But at the time when this event occurred, he was probably a junior enlisted. So right now he's a higher enlisted. When this first happened, he was a junior enlisted. And what had happened was, and how he comes into this example of peer pressure, he was patrolling, right? He was patrolling, and if I remember correctly, he's patrolling. And essentially what patrolling is, right? Patrolling is you and a group of other infantrymen with your weapons. You know, you're just walking, you know, make sure the area is good. You know, this is your weapon right here. It's a weapon. It's a bunch of you guys. You're patrolling, making sure the area is good. You know, make sure there's no dang on bad guys over there for you to, you know what I'm saying, close with and destroy. So he's on a patrol. I believe they took contact. He got injured. Now his arm is busted. His arm is busted up pretty bad and he needs to recover. He goes to medical. Medical is telling him what medical does. He's saying, hey, recover, you know, don't go on out there and do anything stupid. don't make the injury worse, essentially, right? And then so he's recovering, resting and recovering, R&R, as they say. His comrades, his brothers, his boys, they're going on another patrol. And I think they were trying to entice him, to motivate him to come. I don't remember. But I remember he was saying he didn't want to feel like left out. He didn't want to let them out. They were saying like, oh, come on, man, let's go patrol, whatever. And he still felt like that peer pressure, essentially, right? That peer pressure, the influence to do something that you otherwise wouldn't do. And so they did. He did end up going on a patrol again, and they did engage with some bad guys, some enemies. But his arm was busted. So if you're holding like a weapon, like a weapon, you're doing this action right here. You're pew pew pew. He couldn't do that. His arm was busted. So he had to jig his arm in a certain way so he could just do this. So instead of pulling the trigger with just your fingers, he's pulling the trigger with his whole arm, doing this number right here, not doing anything, not shooting anything. And the moral of the story was, even to this day, he still has certain problems with his forearms and his fingers, even to this day. And he said it's one of those things he regrets because his arm is still busted. His arm hasn't fully recovered. And he felt like, man, maybe I should have just recovered. Maybe I was trying to prove something that didn't need to be proved. I should have just recovered, et cetera, et cetera. That's how that story fits into this video. And another example I want to give that I'm sure a lot of us can relate to, maybe you even as the audience can relate to, is content creation / posting online. And what I mean by this is when people say that they want to start posting content, but they're worried or they're concerned what other people might think about them. Other people being their friends, family, co-workers judging them. What if people think I'm weird? What if I fail publicly? The fear, and that's something I've experienced. That's something I've seen. I hear other people talk about. I've even had family members who've come across some of my videos, some of my fitness videos I used to post, and they were saying essentially the same thing, right? We all have that fear. It's like it's a universal thing when it comes to wanting to start a business or wanting to try a new endeavor. You're just worried. You're concerned about how others may perceive you, how they may judge you, that kind of stuff. And now we'll go into some personal examples of, peer pressures I've encountered, even joining the military. So, like I said, I joined the military. For some backstory, I joined the military right out of high school. I was 17, and a few months later, went right to boot camp, hooking and jabbing, as they say. I've even had friends while I was in high school, trying to, I wouldn't say peer pressuring because I'm sure they didn't do it intentionally, right? Because I don't want to say, or I don't want to make it seem like people are doing this with malicious intent, because it doesn't mean that the intent is malicious, right? I know we put a word to it, but it doesn't mean being peer pressured is malicious. And you can even be peer pressured someone you don't even know. You could be trying to make a joke, a harmless comment, whatever, and that person may internalize it as peer pressure. So we don't want to demonize people. We don't want to make it seem like everyone is out here to get you, make it seem like everyone has malicious intent. That's not the intent of this video. It's just something to be aware of, right? So my friends in high school saying that it's not like they were doing it out of malicious intent. They just heard rumors, they were worried from me. They thought I was going to go to war or die or something, right? So they're just, they're just doing what they're doing. You know what I mean? And even another example, this is something I'm just remembering. I didn't even put in my notes. I was in JRTC. I was in JRTC in high school, which was a good move in hindsight. But I think it was every week, either every week or every 2 weeks, we had to wear our uniforms. And boy, I tell you, I was so embarrassed to wear that uniform. I was so embarrassed, so embarrassed to wear that uniform. And yeah, my friends would joke on me and clown on me when I would wear that uniform. But it's whatever, right? It's not that big a deal now. But that's an example of like personal examples of peer pressure. You know what I mean? Or I don't want to be boring. So if I had to get another example, or other examples could be, so you guys know I'm into the fitness thing, right? Come on, you couldn't tell? You couldn't tell me I'm into that fitness thing? So there's certain things you need to abstain from when it comes to fitness. Staying up late, trying to party, abusing drugs and alcohol, that's bad to go. You that's not something you want to partake in if you're looking to achieve certain results, a certain physique, etc., right? And I don't want to say that everyone who's into fitness doesn't do that, right? But a general rule of thumb when it comes to fitness is your sleep, recovery, your diet, etc. And you want to abstain from whatever is going to get in the way of that. That's my mentality. If I want to be able to run and be at the top of my class or the top of the Marines, like on our physical fitness tests, I don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize that. That's going to get in the way of that. So if I have my people, my comrades, my brothers in arms saying, hey, let's go get drunk, let's go out, whatever, that's a form of peer pressure. But remembering my priorities, remembering my goals, remember what I'm fighting for, I can say, not tonight, man. Maybe next weekend. Something simple as that. Something simple as that. I want to go into a bonus example as well, but to wrap that up, it's okay to say no. I think that's probably what some of us need to hear. This may be what you needed to hear, but hey, it's okay to say no. Seriously, it's okay to say no. You don't always have to say yes. You don't always have to agree to something. If you don't want to do something, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, if you think it isn't right, if you think, man, I have something planned, hey, it's okay to say no, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, maybe next time. Or I'll go with you next time. Or we could do that later. Or we could do that another time. I got something else I need to handle. You know what I mean? So don't feel afraid to say no. There's nothing wrong with saying, no, I'm okay. Está bien, as they say in Espanol. But here is the bonus example that I want to go in. And this bonus example, I guess you can say this is more after. This would be some of the benefits you would get from, I guess, denying the peer pressure. Or I guess let me just tell you the story. So I was dating this girl, right? And essentially, she's also into the gym as well. She's also in the gym. And she was telling me it was hard being as committed to the gym or committed to a certain lifestyle because, she's young. Her friends that age, they want to party and stuff like that. But she's telling me her story. She didn't want to succumb to peer pressure. She was focusing on her goals. And eventually, she received reaffirmation from the universe. Receiving reaffirmation from the universe is essentially like I said, she's in the gym, and she's been in the gym for years. So she's like a Latina muscle mommy, essentially. Just think muscle mommy. That's the physique she has. So, but it wasn't easy getting there. You know what I mean? It wasn't easy. That's a lot of saying no's, a lot of going to sleep early, waking up early to train, a lot of saying no to alcohol, a lot of people who may want to invite you out to partying. You're like, nah, I can't do that because I need to go to sleep, get that full 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep so I can wake up early in the morning, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, dang on, go on train, dang on, lift some heavy weight. You know what I mean? And it's very hard to do something like that. Like I said earlier in the video, it's very hard to say no. It's very hard to, you understand? It's very difficult, very difficult. So, and she was saying it feels like it feels good for her when she gets reaffirmation for her hard work. Like when someone comments on her physique or like her coworkers will ask her about fitness advice and stuff like that. It feels good knowing all her hard work was or is being acknowledged because, a lot of sacrifices to get here, a lot of hard work to get there, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was the bonus example. And now we can wrap it up, man. I wanted to just, get that out to you guys. And I want to end off the video with this. Just remember that peer pressure is part of being human. You don't have to think like these people have malicious intent, or if you accidentally peer pressure someone, you have malicious intent. People are just people. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect. We're imperfect creatures, as they say, right? This is just something to be aware of. So if you have a goal that you want to work towards, it's okay to if you feel like you need to make these sacrifices to get there to achieve it, it's okay. It's está bien. It's no problema. It's no problem. If you have to say no, say what you have to say so you can accomplish your goals, accomplish your missions. I gave fitness examples, but this can apply anywhere. If you want to study more, if you want to lock in on your career more, etc. And I feel like this is a key point right here, is that you're not weak for feeling it, or you're not weak for, don't think you're weak because someone is trying to influence you to do something. I gave you a good example. 50 Cent, come on. Jack, you know what I'm saying, rapper, he has his reputation, and he's not immune to peer pressure. So if he can get peer pressured, you know what I'm saying, hey. So don't feel bad about it. Don't think you're weak, right? It's something that happens to all of us. And I would challenge you, or yeah, I guess you could say I challenge you to try and be a bit more aware in your interactions with people, with others, and be mindful of this video. Be mindful of what we spoke about to see if, am I succumbing to something? Should I be doing this? Did I have other things planned? What about my goals? And I don't remember off the top of my head who said this. I did not come up with this, but there was a good quote, and it goes like this: If you don't sacrifice for your goals become the sacrifice. I'll leave you with that. If you like these type of topics, the self-improvement topics, the mindset topics, if these are your general interest, these are the things you're interested in, as well as I, hey, go ahead and like that video. Comment down below what you thought. If there are some things I missed out, if there's some things that hit close to home, that resonated well with you, and subscribe for more videos and for more content so you can also be around like-minded individuals as well.